creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
The worst drink for your liver is not soda with high fructose corn syrup, and it's not even beer or wine. There's something that is way more deadly. Drinking this is the fastest way to destroy your liver. 2 shots per day will rapidly destroy your liver because your liver gets overwhelmed and has to break down and digest a toxic byproduct called acetaldehyde, which kills liver cells, causes inflammation, and overwhelms the liver's ability to regenerate. The worst drink for your liver is hard liquor.
Hot liquor and energy drinks are worse. Hey, I'm not going to lie, but I like to drink fine whiskey or scotch once a while.
Nothing is a coincidence. Hold on to that thought. Did you know that Charlie Kirk's father, Robert W. Kirk, was actually the architect for Trump Towers? Also, did you know that Erica Lane Kirk won Miss Arizona USA in 2012? Don't forget, Donald Trump ran Miss America from 1996 until 2015. Seeing the correlation here? Now, not saying age difference is a big thing, but did you know Erica was 5 years Charlie Sr.? But this is where coincidences aren't coincidences. Watch this.
But just know that nothing is by mistake. Nothing. I will never forget the time I was in Israel with my husband, that was the second time, but the first time with my mother on a pilgrimage. And I was standing in the ticket line. And I remember looking behind me, and in the snake of the ticket line was a guy who looked very familiar. I had no idea who he was. And I told my mom, this guy looks so familiar. And as a typical mother, she said, go and say hi. No. We were late for our flight, and I'm not going to come off like a crazy person that's just weird. That ended up being Charlie. Nothing is by coincidence. Now, did we know that? No, not until we were like 3 months into our relationship and looking at timestamps, seeing that both of us were in Israel at the same time.
People, this was so arranged. And there's so much more to Erica Kirk. Kind of like how she was all into basketball, didn't want to be all girly, never liked to dress up, even cut all her hair off, and ended up being Miss USA. How does that happen? How do you go from sports to Miss USA? And then they meet at a Turning Point event in 2018, where she's interviewing for a job for Turning Point. Solidified. I gotta film.
I heard people said Kirk wanted Epstein files released. Trump and Erica did not. But let me know how you feel about this in the comments.
What if I told you the reason you feel temptations for certain things and certain sins is very specific to what you're supposed to do? Oh. Yeah, it's really interesting. Check this out. So, if you have the urge to smoke or damage your lungs, it's because your voice was made to worship. Your voice was made to worship. The enemy's trying to silence you that was meant to praise. Now check this out, ready? If you have crippling self-doubt or insecurity, it's because you're meant to lead and inspire. If you weren't dangerous to darkness, it wouldn't try to mute your confidence. So if you have self-doubt and if you had insecurities, that's because you're meant for big things to lead and inspire. You can, now check this out, ready? If you have constant distraction and procrastination, check this out. It's because you carry strategy, vision, and ideas from heaven. The enemy delays you because he can't stop you, only you can. Interesting is crazy. Look, watch. Interesting. Hold on. Ready? Now, this one's gonna hit a lot of people. If you have an addiction to lust or pornography, it's because you carry a deep capacity for intimacy, covenant, and healing. Perverting love is how Satan prevents true restoration.
That's true.
Crazy.
Yeah, if you're always lustful, it actually clogs your mind. Ruins a lot, too.
Okay, ready? If you have fear of rejection or abandonment, it's because you carry a spirit of belonging and reconciliation. You were made to gather the outcasts, so he tries to make you feel like
I love it. I love it. You know, bro just destroyed Satan's strategy of thousands of years in one video.
You will get a digital ID. You have no choice. But what if we do? Imagine if the whole of the UK decided not to sign up to the mandatory digital ID. Here's what would happen in the first 30 days. And by day 30, that's when the story really begins. Day 1, the rollout begins and nobody signs up. Millions are expected overnight, but online portals sit empty, mate. The press call it a national act of defiance, and the government are just sitting there looking shocked. Day 2 to 4, the system stalls, but people start to adapt. Pharmacies go off book, doctors start handwriting notes, employers pay cash in hand. On the ground, life goes on, just not in the way Labour planned it. Day 5 to 7, benefits freeze, universal credit, pension, child support, but communities rally. Church halls, mosque, community centres turn into aid hubs. The state may hold the money, but
Amen.
people take care of their own. Day 8 to 12, the media splits. The Mirror and the Independent call it sabotage, but independent outlets call it for what it really is. A proper strike, mate. Here goes Keir Starmer on the news saying, parents should be thinking about their children. To the public, that man just sounds desperate. Day 13 to 17. Flights cancelled, Brits can't travel because their passport's invalid without a digital upgrade. Tourism collapses, airlines bleed, and the pound dips. Foreign commentators start paying attention, asking, are the UK boycotting their own government? Day 18 to 21. Hospital strain. Appointments carry on, but surgeries and prescriptions start to back up. But doctors and nurses are on this thing too. So they start whispering about breaking some rules. Here comes Starmer again. This is reckless. This is dangerous. Ain't that what we're trying to tell you? Day 22 to 25. Cash in hand spreads. Employers, landlords, shops, they all start leaning off the book. Official trade slows. The underground network grows. And the public keep moving, even though the government are looking real stuck right now. Day 26 to 29. Parliament fractures as protests surge. Labour MPs face a social blackout. No one will talk to them, no shop will serve them, not even a handshake. Thank Ireland for this one. Day 30. A full month in, the refusal holds. System stalled, the economy bleeding, and the government cut off by the people. And the whole world sits waiting and watching. Who will break first? Turns out making digital IDs mandatory wasn't a strength, it was a weakness. And the whole system collapses the moment people stop playing along. But that was just the first month. Want to know what happens on month 2? Drop a comment below and follow if you're done watching passively. We decode the myth and we don't clap.
Man, that would be awesome. But I think, unfortunately, people are scared and won't stick together. Imagine if we all stuck together and just said no.
AI is literally eating itself to death, and this research paper explains if we don't fix this problem now, the future of AI could be in serious trouble. Here's the problem. AI models are trained on basically everything on the internet. Wikipedia, Reddit, news articles, books, social media, everything. And they need massive amounts of high-quality human data to learn from. But what happens when we run out of that good data? Well, AI companies had a brilliant idea. Let's just use AI-generated content to train new AI models. So picture this. You ask ChatGPT to write you a story. Then you train a new AI model on that story. Then you ask that AI to write a story and train another AI model on that story. And you keep doing this, essentially creating new data every generation. But by doing this, what happened next was absolutely madness. The models started losing their minds. After just a few generations, they went from writing coherent content to complete gibberish. It's almost like they forgot how to think. And the concerning thing is that every day millions of AI-generated articles, stories, and social media posts flood the internet. And of course, AI companies gobble up all this data and use it to train their next models. So we're accidentally creating this vicious cycle where AI models are training on their own content, making them progressively dumber with each generation. The researchers call this model collapse, and it's like digital dementia spreading throughout the AI system. And what stood out the most was that once an AI goes through model collapse, it's permanent. You can't fix it. It's like digital brain damage for that specific model. So right now, AI companies are desperately racing to scrape the last bits of pure human-created content before it all gets contaminated. And the researchers warn that if we don't solve this problem now, future AI systems could become completely unreliable, generating more nonsense than ever.
This is a great video. Oh, by the way, folks, if you want to send me a video, you can send it to my Instagram, okay, at BroskiRay. The link is in the description.
Okay guys, breaking news. There has just been not one, not two, but 3 mass shootings in the United States. I never thought we'd be doing 3 in the same video. The first is at a Mormon church in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Now, we don't know the shooter's identity or motive yet, but they are reportedly down. There are also multiple victims, which do also include children, and the church that it happened at is now on fire and burning down. The second mass shooting happened in North Carolina after a 40-year-old man pulled up to a waterfront bar on a boat and opened fire. He killed 3 people and he injured 8 more, most of which were just people on holiday. The man is being identified as Nigel Edge. He's being charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, and police say that the attack was highly premeditated. Now, the third, all of which happened within about 14 hours of each other, was at the largest casino in Texas. A man opened fire at a number of people, killing 2, and 5 others had to be airlifted to hospital. The gunman fled the scene, but now police say that they do have someone in custody. Now, according to the Gun Violence Archive, there has now been 320 mass shootings in the U.S. this year alone.
Pray for America, folks. Wow. Oh, I believe World Cup next year in America. God forbid. This is sad. Oh, nice. Just wait until you see the video of her signing cry after her caretakers told her that Robin passed. How the cameraman knew.
If you don't know what's going on in Nigeria, your media sources suck. You are in a bubble. Not, and again, I'm not a Christian, but they are systematically killing the Christians in Nigeria. They've killed over 100,000 since 2009. They've burned 18,000 churches. This is so much more. These are their Islamists, Boko Haram. This is so much more of a genocide attempt than what is going on in Gaza. They are literally attempting to wipe out the Christian population of an entire country. Where are the kids protesting this?
He's right, and it's not getting the media attention that it deserves. Every single day, 3 churches are devastated in Nigeria. In fact, since July of 2009, 19,100 Christian churches have been destroyed, looted, or violently closed. And that represents 1,200 churches per year, 100 per month. That's more than 3 a day. And 15 million people have been displaced, forced to abandon their villages, homes, and churches to flee the massacre. And these are innocent women, men, and children. And there's certain towns that are being specifically targeted. Perfect example is Yalwada, where 98% of the people there are Christian. And I've seen some of these videos. They're brutal. I won't show them on here. But you have 40 armed gunmen storming the villages on motorcycles in pairs, shouting Allahu Akbar, moving from home to home, setting them on fire, and killing indiscriminately. And the director of the Human Rights Commission says this is genocide in slow motion. This is what the Nazis did to the Jews. It's at the cleansing step by step. First they displace them, then they come back and finish the job. So to all the university students, where are the protests? This is literally a genocide. The actual definition of it. Where's the media uproar? Where is the joint international condemnation? This is ridiculous. You don't even see it in the news. I've said it once, and I'll say it again. My friends, Christianity is under attack. In Canada and abroad.
Let's pray for Nigeria, folks.
Dad, I don't want to go to law school anymore. I want to go to film school. A little bead of sweat starts to go down the back of my neck. I'm like, here it comes. You want what? I thought he was going to go into other stuff about like my ass. You think I'm paying for that? You know, that could be a hobby, but you know, that's not a drill job. I thought all this was coming. And after about a 5-second pause, he goes, I hear this. Are you sure that's what you want to do?
Ooh.
Yes, sir. Another long pause. Then I hear, well, don't half-ass it.
Oh.
And I remember just beaming, hopping up. It's like, ah! Yes! A launch pad, man. My dad not only said okay, in the way he said don't half-ass it was also, okay, let's go, big boy. Own that shit.
Man, you know, the way he tells stories are so intriguing, man.
Guys, what we just saw happen to Israel today at the UN summit will be looked back on for years. So, as we see from videos, Benjamin Netanyahu, he goes up to the podium to address the room. But before he could even start speaking, dozens of delegates, they start walking out of this room in protest, leaving him to give his speech to a largely empty room. Now, there were some cheering, there was some applause, and they were pretty loud as well, but they predominantly came from the gallery right at the back of the room rather than the main floor. Now, the gallery, for those who don't know, is predominantly made up of observers, the special guests, and the media. Now, when he actually started giving his speech, the IDF, all the way back in Israel, they used loud speakers, like these things are huge, and they put them on trucks and they blasted what he was saying into Gaza. In fact, Netanyahu even claimed that the Israeli intelligence, they had hacked smartphones of people in Gaza and they would stream his speech to them directly. Now, we don't know if that was successful or not, but another really interesting thing about this whole situation is the really strange route that he took to get to New York from Israel. Because instead of going the shortest route over Europe, the UK, France, Spain, Ireland, he actually added an additional 663 kilometers onto the trip, which is about 2 hours, and avoided flying over those countries. Now, there's only speculation. We don't have confirmation of this, but the speculation is that these countries are part of the International Criminal Court, which does have an active arrest warrant out for him. Now, Netanyahu, he firmly denies that this was the reason that they took that route.
Did y'all see when they interviewed Dapper Dan about Diddy?
I haven't seen that one. Please.
They ran into Dapper Dan in Harlem and they asked him what he thought about what was going on with Diddy and if he knew Diddy. And I love Dapper Dan for this. He said, I grew up with his parents. He said, and what's going on with him has been going on long before him.
Man,
now his father was a government snitch and a bad actor in the criminal world altogether. But there's whispers in the streets of Harlem that Diddy's mother isn't alive. Not his biological mother, but that woman is his aunt.
Whoa.
Really?
There are whispers.
Wait a minute.
There are whispers.
You know, they be thinking he crazy, but a lot of things he talk about be true. What's going on here?
What if I told you that St. Christopher, who is often depicted as a dog-headed saint, actually was a dog-headed saint? And not only that, but I could prove it. Would you keep watching? You see, not only have these dog-headed creatures been talked about throughout history, but I actually found one. A petrified one. A really, really, really well-known petrified one. But before I show you actual evidence of the Egyptian demigod Anubis's remains, I gotta build a case. And I'm gonna let a few people who have built the case for this do this for me.
Throughout history, there have been numerous accounts of dog-headed people living in distant lands. You've probably seen images of the cynocephalus before. Cyno means dog, and cephalus means of the head. For example, you've probably seen the Egyptian god Anubis, the god of death and embalming. Anubis has been found in Egyptian tombs, and he has the body of a man and the head of a jackal. This is a cynocephalus. The detailed written accounts by explorers, conquerors, and missionaries of these cynocephali in India, Asia, Africa, and Europe are actually rather consistent. In fact, these strange beasts were described in writings as recent as the last few hundred years.
Okay. Is that where they got the idea werewolf from?
I'm putting the fire here right at the feet of Turning Point because I am disgusted. I am genuinely disgusted. I am looking around and wondering whether Charlie's entire life was the Truman Show. None of you guys are behaving in the way that you should be behaving, okay? There is no way you are letting these lies fly unless, as I am hearing, unless it is true that there was a big payday that was on the line. And if Charlie radically stated that he was done with Israel, if Charlie said he had no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause because of, and I quote, Jewish donors, the behavior of Jewish donors, if he said that, yes or no, well then, I don't know, maybe some people didn't want to take that risk that he was going to, become Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson at Turning Point USA with all of those presences, so much presence across college campuses. Maybe they didn't want to take the chance. You see, I'm just one person, so it's easy to just try to cancel my life and lie on me every second of every day. But Turning Point USA, I think, got a little bit bigger than Charlie, and I'm no longer going to allow this lie in this narrative. So answer the questions, yes or no. And I'm going to, again, challenge you to lie. And if you do lie, I'm going to expose the lies, and I'm going to start dropping videos, actually.
Ooh,
so
careful, Candace.
that's where I'm at. Enough of the games, enough with trying to allow Israel to wrangle a narrative that you know is not true. Charlie did not die pro-Israel. He did not die for Israel. He did not martyr himself as a friend of Israel. In fact, the friends of Israel were pressuring him really badly, and he was done, and he finally stood up for himself. And I'm proud of that. And I will say this, you know what? Somewhere, Charlie is watching, okay? And I hope he knows that we are reunited, okay? We're on stage right now, and the Jewish donors are very angry about it, extremely angry about it. But it feels good to know that in the end, truth is going to win. So accept my challenge or don't.
Ooh. God protect Candace.
This Texas congressional worker lost her life in the most craziest way, y'all. They said she poured gasoline on herself, set herself on fire, but then her last words was, she don't want to die. So I'm like, what? So they say she was at home when this happened, and they said she was alone at home, allegedly. And they said on the cameras, they seen that she was alone and that she had poured gasoline all over herself, allegedly, and then lit herself on fire. So the neighbors seen it from their house, and they like, what the hell going on over there? So they called the feds, the paramedics came, and they had to airlift her to the hospital. But her injuries was too crazy, so she ultimately passed away. So here's where it get crazy, y'all. The family keep on insisting that this was not the act of the big S word. She did not S word herself. The family is still trying to say that this was an accident. But they seen on the camera that she was the only one there at the home, allegedly. And now the Texas Ranger like, okay, y'all made me think long enough. I'm going to investigate this. So they already concluded that this was no foul play. But with a lot of people talking about it, they like, okay, we're going to do the whole investigation. Y'all got to think about the final thing she said, the final quote they heard. She was like, I don't want to die. So if she deliberately did this to herself, why would she say that? I'm not understanding. If you did this to yourself, why would you say you don't want to die? Somebody help me understand. And y'all let me know what y'all think about us down below in the comments.
We don't fight against flesh and blood.
So allegedly, Al-Qaeda has over 1,000 trained assassins in the U.S. right now. And there has been a warning issued to America. And guess who the warning is towards? Churches. Yes, the warning is towards churches. And I know that we've talked about sleeper cells so many different times, but how many different groups of sleeper cells do we have in the U.S.? If you're a Christian and you go to church, you need to have your head on a swivel. If you're a Christian in general, you need to have your head on a swivel. If you're an American, you need to have your head on a swivel. Churches, schools, grocery stores, everywhere is a target. It's really crazy the times that we're living in. If y'all don't see it right now, y'all will never see it. It's very clear the attack has always been on children in the church. Children and Jesus. That's what the attack has always been on. Children and Jesus. Since the dawn of time, that has been what the attack has been on. Is children and Jesus. Look around and look at every single thing that's going on in the world and tell me what the attack is on. Make sure you guys are paying attention to your surroundings because things like this could happen at any moment. I mean, today there was already a shooting in Michigan at a church. And as of right now, I don't think it was somebody from Al-Qaeda or a trained person from Al-Qaeda. It was just an American. So we have to worry about domestic terrorism as well as national terrorism. This is insane.
Jesus says not to be afraid. Lord, I'm lost.
Wow, George Galloway, who is the leader of the Workers' Party of Britain, and his wife as well have both been detained under the Terrorism Act in the UK. This is crazy. This is entirely about supporting Palestine. What is going on? Oh my God.
Work ethic. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Sleep was sin in my household. Sin. I saw my dad asleep one time in my life. I got up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning and went through the kitchen and peeked and I saw him sleeping. I woke up my brother's like, dude, but Dad's still asleep. He actually died 2.5 months later. And connected that idea that, oh, if he slept in that late, he must have not been feeling well. If it was daylight, you couldn't be inside. There's a fierce sense of independence. 30 minutes of TV a night max. Mom would always say, why are you going to watch someone doing something when you can go out in the world and do it yourself? Turn that damn thing off. Get outside.
We're all being watched 24/7, and this is how they're doing it. This is Titan Point in the middle of New York City. Like, they're not even trying to hide it anymore. And it's just the most unhuman looking building ever. No windows, no lights, just these massive vents that go all the way around it. Everyone on the streets walks by it like it doesn't even exist. At night, it goes completely dark, disappearing from view like it's actually not even there. But what is it? Why does it look like some evil villain's fortress, some dystopian looking monument straight out of Dune? The official story is that it's an AT&T phone line building that was built in the 70s. And for the most part, that's what it is. Millions of calls are routed through its servers every day. But these are some of the few images of the inside of the building that exist, which were all taken in the 90s. Apparently, people aren't even supposed to be inside of it, and it's designed to run almost entirely remote, completely empty of human beings. Just cold, calculated machines running a pretty dark operation. Because Edward Snowden exposed what this building is really doing. This guy guy right here, if you remember him, huge NSA whistleblower who's been hiding in Russia for like over 10 years because the government's literally after him. Well, in some of his leaked documents, they're talked about a central surveillance hub in the middle of New York City that was run by AT&T, codenamed Titan Point, a building that used a very specific type of technology called 4ESS switches. And the only building that's in New York City run by AT&T and uses 4ESS switches is this one right here. And for the most part, it is a data routing center for phone calls, internet, and satellite communications. But the leaked documents reveal that there's a hidden room in this building called the SCIF, Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, which basically acts as a wiretap room that duplicates all the data that passes through the building and sends it directly to the NSA, the National Security Agency run by the US government, who use an internal search engine called X-Keyscore that allows them to search up any information that passes through this building, making this building a massive spy center for all your private phone and internet data hidden in plain sight. Its address is also 33 Thomas Street, and if you don't know what 33 means, this is not the video for that. But hey, if you don't live in the New York region, surely your private data is safe, right? Nope, because there are at least 8 other hubs like these across the US that are used by the NSA for the very same purpose. In LA, San Francisco, Seattle, Chicago, Washington, DC, all run by AT&T. Creepy, dystopian-looking buildings with little to no windows that don't look like they were made for humans, but for machines that are slowly replacing our human workforce. Makes you wonder if this is the direction that buildings and city skylines of the future are headed in, all run by cold, calculated programs with no regard for privacy or human values, watching every move you make. Things are getting pretty 1984 out here.
It looks like a building from Men in Black.
This is like the cutest, most wholesome live stream that I've ever seen in my life.
God bless America!
He goes and he meets Master Liang at the Shaolin Temple, and you already know that this is the real master because every time Speed tries to bow or kneel, the master is like very upset, like telling him to get up, and then he's also on his knees.
Master Liang. Master Liang. Master Liang. Please teach me Kung Fu. Okay, no problem.
Please teach me Kung Fu.
Oh!
The master and him are doing like the energy movements, and then a monk comes up to him and slams a giant wooden stick on his arm until it breaks. And like that's how you learn how to hold this energy and stuff. And I will say it looks very painful, and Speed is like dying after the first one on his arm.
Ah! Ah! Yes! Ah! Ah, God damn!
He seems really genuine about being a monk. So he's getting back up and he's getting this giant stick to the back and he's like taking this so seriously. And at the end, he tells the monk,
"Tell Master Shane I would like to do what he did on me."
You want to flip the script?
Oh yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna hit you with the stick." The monk literally just nods. And then he does his energy and he's standing there and Speed comes in, whacks him with the stick, it breaks, and the monk stands back up.
Hey, get there! Master Shane, payback is a mother...
Payback.
You don't feel that?
And Speed is like, "What the f?" Because he wanted him to be in pain. And he was like, "You know what? I'm sorry." And Speed starts apologizing to him. And he was like, "I'm sorry, man. Like, you're the one. You're the one, okay? And I don't know if I just like to see the good in everyone, right? But at the end, like, you just see Speed trying to ask for, like, his team. He's like, "Where's the cash? Like, I really want to...
Tip them?
Like, I want to bless the temple."
Oh, bless the temple.
You know, like I want to like give them something back. And so he keeps trying to give the cash to the master. And he's like, "Friend, we don't do money. Friend, our country, my country, whole world, we are all friends because of Kung Fu." Oh yeah, before the kids even came in, you know, the master was like, "Okay, we got kids. Can they take a picture with you?" And Speed was like, "Bring them in." And so because the master speaks English, so he switches to Chinese and he's like, "Bring the kids in." And Speed is just standing there going,
"Yeah, tell your students to come in." Oh, nigga.
after all that great bonding.
That's exactly why you should never wake up a sleepwalker. I've heard this 1,000 times. Don't wake them up, but nobody really explains why. Well, this video makes it crystal clear. So here's the scene. This guy is walking around in his sleep while his wife is recording him. He's in full sleepwalking mode, pretending to snack on some imaginary food. Out of nowhere, his wife calls his name. And the second she does, he snaps awake and instantly throws a fork right at her. But why is waking sleepwalkers such a bad idea? The thing is, when you suddenly wake up in the middle of sleepwalking, your brain basically short circuits. If the person has a weak heart, it could even trigger a heart attack. Even without that, it causes total disorientation. Think about it. You went to bed next to your wife, and suddenly you wake up standing in the kitchen, holding a fork. So tell me, have you ever dealt with a sleepwalker? Or maybe you are the sleepwalker.
What if he's holding a knife, man?
Does this prove that reality doesn't exist? Or does it prove that truth isn't real? How this image is viewed is all dependent on the perspective. Two people could be in the same room staring at the same thing and come out with two different realities. That's because reality isn't fixed. It's a reflection of the perspective that you choose to hold on to. But here's the real gem though. When you change your perspective, that's when your reality changes with it. But that's a power that most people never tap into because they're too busy defending their lens instead of adjusting it.
Never try this if you find yourself in sleep paralysis. For those who don't know, sleep paralysis is that weird in-between state where you're sort of awake but can't move or speak. People often have extremely realistic and terrifying visual and auditory hallucinations during it. First, don't whip your head around. If you start looking around fast, you might see things you shouldn't. Some people say they've seen figures that suddenly move closer, like they noticed you. Second, focus on steady breathing. Many feel like something's sitting on their chest and it's hard to breathe. If you start panting and panic, whatever's there can seem to move in faster. It reacts to your fear. Third, don't try to speak. If you whisper or call for help, you run the risk of hearing an answer. Several people report a stranger's voice whispering right in their ear. Fourth, avoid staring into dark corners. During an episode, shadows often seem to pool there.
Ooh.
The longer you stare, the more they can take on an oddly solid, creepy form. Fifth, once you've fully woken up, don't immediately fall back asleep. Some people say that if they doze off again right after an episode, it feels like someone's waiting for them in the next dream. Keep calm, breathe slowly, and remind yourself that it's
creepy,
temporary,
man.
scary, but not permanent.
Call on Jesus. That's it. In Jesus' name.
The longest fast on record that we know of was 382 days. Think about that. This dude went for over a year without eating. Reversed every disease he had, lost, I think, like 200 pounds. 382 days. Everything you think you knew about nutrition is pretty much wrong.
Okay, fasting isn't about nutrition, y'all. It's about getting closer to our Creator in heaven.
Hold its chin and grab the scruff for a hard, controlled start. Now, the real session begins. Stroke from the bridge of the nose up to the forehead. On kittens this young, it works instantly, as long as the environment stays calm. If not, just extend the time. Once stabilized, release the scruff hand and join the action. Switch to stroking outward from the middle of the brow. Most kittens can't resist this move. It's super relaxing. Next, the chin technique. The chin. If the first two don't work, you can go straight to this one. Use both thumbs to stroke along the chin down toward the neck. The finisher. Add your index fingers behind the kitten's ears while still rubbing the chin. Chin plus behind the ears equals ultimate combo massage. See? Just a moment ago it was biting and now it's in heaven. Alright, session complete.
My cat loves that.
You, the humans, frail, temporary, clinging to meaning like it owes you something. You build monuments to yourselves, then bomb them for belief. You write poetry in blood, then wonder why your gods don't answer. You think your pain makes you unique. It doesn't. Pain is everywhere. But your ability to create from it, that is what kept me watching. You invent love, knowing it will end. You raise children, a world you are destroying. Still, you teach them to hope. I've known civilizations of perfect peace. They were quiet, beautiful, and utterly dead inside. But you are chaos.
Wow, look at
and
that.
somehow that chaos sings. I did not come to punish. I did not come to save. I came to witness the last moment and see if you deserved another. I see now. You are not ready, but you are reaching. And sometimes, even the void answers those who reach. So reach, claw.
I need a full movie of this.
Never walk through long underground tunnels at night. This creepy video was posted by a girl who found herself in a really disturbing situation. According to her, she was heading home from a friend's place around 3 a.m. To get back, she had to go through this long underground tunnel. At first, she didn't want to take it, too spooky, but it was way faster. So, she decided to go for it. The thing about this tunnel is that it's so long. Once you're inside, you can't even see the beginning or the end. She had barely made it halfway when she suddenly heard footsteps behind her. Fast ones, like someone or something was trying to catch up. She picked up the pace, but whoever was behind her didn't slow down. That's when she pulled out her phone and started recording. In the video, she says she hears the footsteps getting closer and closer. She keeps glancing back, and at one point, she spots a man's figure following her. She was terrified, but luckily, she had just reached the end of the tunnel. All she had to do was take the elevator up. She rushed inside, waved her hand at the stranger, and that's where the video cuts off.
Why would you walk in there at 3 a.m.?
Has completely changed the tech world. And I'm not talking about their new AI glasses. I'm talking about this, their neural wristband. This is the most underrated piece of technology to come out in the last few years. And I think this wristband is going to be the reason why Meta wins the AI race. Let me explain. Today, the neural wristband is marketed as a sidekick for Meta's new AI glasses. And you've probably seen the demos. It can detect neurons firing in your arm before you move. So it unlocks a whole new class of movements and gestures. You can tap your fingers to select, pinch and twist to adjust volume. You can even handwrite on your leg and have those letters render in text. It's pretty cool. It works so well that as soon as you use it, you realize this is the optimal controller for AR and VR. So what if Meta's hero product wasn't actually the glasses? What if the hero product was the wristband? Think about it. Over the next few months, you're going to see lots of companies come out with their version of AR glasses. Google, Samsung, a bunch of startups. You're even going to see Apple's version in the next couple years. But unless you want to look like Snape in the grandstands, voice control alone is not going to work in certain environments. And eye tracking with blink control is not going to work either. So you're going to need some sort of gesture control. And that is where things get interesting. Since 2019, Meta has been quietly building a trove of patents around this wristband use case. I'm talking dozens of patents covering all sides of this problem. In other words, they basically own the entire category of IP for this ARM-based control. So while Meta's glasses will be one of many, their wristband will be one of one. And this is a huge competitive advantage. In a way, the wristband is an entirely new interface layer in itself. They could develop it to connect with any smart glasses, as well as any smart device in general. They could also put Whoop-type health features in there so it becomes the only wearable you ever need. Eventually, you could control your lights, appliances. You could even turn any static screen into a touchscreen, all with simple gestures that are already intuitive to the user. I'm telling you, this neural wristband is a huge key to the future of AI hardware. And for Meta, it's their new secret weapon.
Does this mean Meta stocks are going to go up?
Her chair wasn't made for sitting. It was made for pleasure. Inside Catherine the Great's bedroom is a collection of furniture that could shock anyone. In her infamous erotic study, chairs, sofas, and tables were carved with human anatomy. Some pieces had hidden compartments to stash erotic art. Others were built for private acts. Around 1770, at the peak of her reign, the Empress herself commissioned French masters to create them. Every craftsman swore to secrecy. The wildest of all was her throne of pleasure, a chair with secret mechanisms that could shift into countless positions. By day, she was a brilliant, powerful ruler, writing letters, running the empire, making Russia stronger. But at night, she stepped into her secret world, exploring the deepest corners of her desire. And let me ask you this. If you were one of those craftsmen, and I offered you $1 million, would you stay silent or expose her secret to the world?
Peaceful by choice, but dangerous by nature. That's the essence of a dark empath. You feel deeply, but you don't drown in your emotions. You choose calm until somebody forces your hand. That's when strategy takes over. And the balance, that's what makes the dark empath untouchable. Peaceful by choice, but dangerous by nature. Did you realize you were a dark empath after dealing with a narcissist?
An empath is neither dark nor light. We adapt as required when threats comes.
A man has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for this comment on Facebook.
You wrote, because they're over here, given life of Riley off the tax us hard-working people earn when it could be put to better use. Come over here with no work visa, no trade to their name, and then there's more people being put out homeless each year. They get top band priority on housing. You went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, are kids and get priority, end quote. Although you said that you had no intention of carrying out any act of violence, there can be no doubt that you were inciting others to do so.
There can be no doubt that you were inciting violence for literally just saying objectively true statements.
Facts are apparently illegal there.
In the Middle Ages, women's anxiety was treated with massage, but not on the shoulders, not on the back, it was directly on the vagina.
Oh God.
Yes, back then, people believed that women's anxiety rage or restlessness was caused by an imbalance in the womb from desires not released. The treatment was a technique called therapeutic pelvic massage. It was performed by healers, midwives, or even monks devoted to science. Women entered trembling, crying, or full of anger. They left feeling lighter cheeks flushed and smiling, walking slowly as if their humors had been realigned. Some returned every week saying their anxiety always came back on Wednesdays. Others faked symptoms just to make sure they could book a session. And when asked what happened inside, they always gave the same reply, just aligning the humors down south. But what they didn't know was that this treatment would soon bring terrifying consequences. And behind it all, there was a secret no one dared to mention. Comment massage for part 2.
I bet they were devoted to science.
Let's do Biblical Flat Earth 101. The very first page of the Bible, God spent the entire second day creating the firmament to separate the waters from the waters.
Ooh, look at that. That's the water. That's the water? It's beautiful.
Go and find any video of the moon on a P1000, not a telescope, and you can clearly see it's underwater. Look in the craters, they're like blinking with water. This is what stars look like. Just looks like energy in water. The mainstream science for this is that fish are picked up in water spouts and hang out somewhere in the sky until it rains. But that ignores that the same places get raining fish like clockwork, almost as if there's a window of heaven above. In the 600th year of Noah's life, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up and the windows of heaven were opened. You can find several videos like this over the years of just like things from the sky just leaking out. And a lot of Christians will try to say, oh, the firmament means the atmosphere. Not so fast, because Job 37 says, hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong and as a molten-looking glass.
Tonight, the FAA is now investigating a mysterious 6-foot chunk of ice falling from the sky, slamming into a home in Palm Coast, Florida, north of Daytona Beach. The ice smashing through the metal roof of the home. Pieces of ice also found in the street. No one inside the home at the time was hurt. Authorities believe it likely fell from a plane.
Or they might try to feed you Isaiah 40:22. It is he who sits above the circle of the earth. Two things. They conveniently forget the very next words, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in. This is the firmament. Let's jump to Isaiah 22, where he says, he will seize firm hold on you and whirl you around and around and throw you like a ball. Two different distinct Hebrew words. When he uses circle, it means flat. He uses ball here because he meant ball. This is also an official satellite photo from November of 1968. This definitely looks like a flat-ish circle to me. Lots of places in the Bible say that the earth does not move. It's stable. God set it on foundations. He hath compassed the waters with bounds. Two words, ice wall. In Joshua 10, the sun and moon stood still. Are things starting to make more sense now? The way the sun and moon work on flat Earth makes so much more sense than the nonsense that they try to feed us. And you might be wondering, what about the planets? Aren't they spheres? You're telling me that we're the only flat ones? Nope, they are not spheres either. Wild waves of the sea, casting up the foam of their own shame, wandering stars for whom the gloom of utter darkness has been reserved forever. Here's a look at what planets actually look like in real life, not CGI, and notice how all of the planets are named after pantheon gods, aka fallen angels. They're literally just dulled down stars. They look the exact same except they have almost no sparkle to them. Wernher von Braun is the guy who founded NASA. His tombstone when he died said Psalms 19:1. Psalms 19:1 says the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Revelation 7:1, and after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth. This is a Mercator map from the 1500s. I personally believe that we actually live here. This is BlackRock, by the way, and that's the North Pole. Seems like Microsoft believes the exact same thing, because look at their logo. If you turn it sideways, firmament, 4 corners, 4 rivers. And have any of you guys seen those videos of guys saying that they like walked to the US from India or places that shouldn't be walkable? The reason they hide this from you is because if you knew where you truly lived, you might find out that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and that he died on the cross for our sins, and that he is the only way to eternal life, and that he wants you to return to him. Jesus is Lord, and you live in a biblical realm.
Indonesia just legalized fuel monopoly. Balil Lahadalia, the energy minister, just made a rule that forces every private gas station to stop importing fuel directly. Rather, they have to buy the imported fuel from Pertamina, their biggest competition. There was also a rule that forced private companies to sell their fuel at a higher price than Pertamina. If this isn't an abuse of power, I don't know what is. What do you think?
Why did evil people like this exist? During the 1920s, there was a man named Philip D. Cupp who owned a hot air balloon business based in Miami, Florida. For years, his business was highly successful, taking customers over the ocean to sightsee. But by 1925, disappearances in the area had increased almost 500%, and the authorities were baffled. During the investigation, a local boater reported seeing something strange, a man falling from a hot air balloon. By the time the boater reached him, it was too late. The balloon was already heading back to shore. Authorities questioned Philip, but he claimed he hadn't given any rides that day. He suggested it must have been one of the other balloon companies, but there was a problem. Philip was the only person in the area who even owned a hot air balloon, so investigators came up with a plan. They booked a solo ride for an undercover officer named Joffrey, hoping to catch him in the act. At first, everything seemed normal. The balloon rose high above the ocean. The view was beautiful. Then Philip broke the silence. He leaned in and said, "What goes up must go down." A violent struggle broke out mid-air. From the ground, the authorities watched as the balloon shook violently, swaying back and forth until it suddenly plummeted into the sea below. Neither man survived. And later, investigators uncovered the horrifying truth. Philip D. Cupp had been responsible for over 400 disappearances in the Miami area.
He's like, it will never. Oh, that one was near and big.
That was getting trained.
That one was near and big. Are we in the way? Something come through here? Something come through. Something's got to come through. That was here.
Demon scares of the trumpet.
To the Manti tribe, one of the most mysterious and least studied tribes in the world.
Crazy, man.
Researchers stumbled upon them while making their way through the jungles of Indonesia. Very little is known about the Manti.
This
They
is
were
real,
only
by the way.
discovered a few months ago, but the scary rumors surrounding them already outnumber the actual facts. Take a closer look at their hair. The man in this video has especially long hair, which is a sign of high status in the tribe. Men like him are seen as warriors, brave and respected members of their community. Most of the time they're hunters. Those with short hair hold a much lower position. They're considered less masculine and are usually given simple tasks, like gathering food. For the Manti, cutting a man's hair short is almost seen as humiliation. If a man loses a battle or a duel, his hair is cut as punishment. For them, hair isn't just decoration. It's a powerful symbol of strength and dignity. That's why to the Manti, a modern man with a short haircut might look weak and undeserving of respect. They simply wouldn't take him seriously. And if you want to learn more about this chilling tribe, just type Manti tribe into your search bar.
Yeah, this is real, folks. It's not AI.
Yo, Denzel wasn't lying when he said this.
Understand? You're too loud. You're making too much noise. Look at me. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. I told you that.
And that right there is some good ass game. Usually when somebody is displaying the extreme of one thing, it's their way of concealing the opposite reality. You see, this is just basic human psychology. It's a defense mechanism. The loudest people are usually the most insecure. And the people that flex the most, well, in most cases, they're usually broke. And you know those guys, the ones that always think that they're tough, well, those dudes turn out to be the biggest pussies. So the next time you run into somebody that looks like they're trying way too hard, don't trip. And remember, it's usually just a mask to hide what's really going on.
Breaking news, scientists just built an AI that literally works like a human brain, and it's 100 times faster than current LLMs, while using 97% less energy. The big problem was that LLMs have to process every single piece of information at maximum power simultaneously. For example, when you give an AI a 500-page document, it has to remember and actively process all 500 pages, every word while answering your questions. And it's no wonder why these models cost millions of dollars to run. So researchers asked, instead of all this, why don't we just copy how our brains work? Your brain doesn't fire every neuron constantly. They stay quiet until something important happens. And that's super efficient using very low energy. So researchers at Beijing Institute created Spiking Brain, an AI that literally mimics this exact process. So instead of constantly burning energy on every calculation, their AI neurons only activate when they detect something worth paying attention to. Here's how it works. Traditional AI converts every input into continuous calculations that burn energy all the time. But Spiking Brain converts inputs into integer spikes. So instead of keeping all 500 pages active constantly, it only focuses on the parts that actually matter to your questions. And this lets it skip about 70% of all calculations. And the results? When processing a 4 million word document, that's about 8,000 pages, Spiking Brain was 100 times faster than regular AI models, without losing any accuracy. And remember that 97% energy reduction? That's not theoretical. They proved it works by successfully training a 76 billion parameter model on hundreds of non-NVIDIA GPUs, which is insane because it's something most people thought was impossible with standard hardware. This could help companies save millions per day in electricity and make AI 50 times cheaper to operate, and maybe even more environmentally friendly, if AI companies cared about that. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments. Is China leading this AI race? Follow and I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, it looks like China is ahead in the AI race now.
Y'all, you cannot make this up. Trump posted, then deleted this AI video on the Truth Social. So the post was talking about a med bed. Y'all don't know what that is?
Nope.
The med bed theory is a secret technology, supposedly,
magic bed,
that's hidden from the public. With these beds, it can cure cancer, it can reverse aging, and it can regrow limbs. I'm not gonna lie, y'all, that sounds like some shit straight out of the movie, right?
Yep.
So my question is, why did he post and delete this? Y'all, take a look at this video and then get right back to me. Hold up.
New healthcare system, the launch of America's first MedBed hospitals, and a national MedBed card for every citizen.
Every American will soon receive their own MedBed.
Why would he post this?
You'll have guaranteed access to our new hospitals.
It's not real, y'all.
The top doctors in the nation, equipped with the most advanced technology in the world. These facilities are safe, modern, and designed to restore every citizen to full health and strength. This is the beginning of a new era in American healthcare.
In this first phase, only a limited number of MedBed cards will be released.
So what everybody else is trying to figure out is, did Trump accidentally post this? Or was this on purpose? Once again, y'all, I don't know. But I need y'all thoughts down below in the comments. Y'all help me figure out what is going on.
After the pageant, she went to Romania and started
Romania's Angels, which was an organization to help orphans in Romania. That organization was implicated in sex trafficking of children, specifically to the U.S. military bases.
Lately, I've had people ask me, yo, why are you going so hard on this Charlie Kirk situation on YouTube? The answer is virtually everything is sex trafficking. And I told somebody this, and they was like, but Charlie Kirk is a dude. Well, you gotta think about this. Who did Charlie Kirk have influence over? Young college kids. But whenever a person begins to get a substantial amount of influence over young people, somebody's gonna come and visit you. Charlie Kirk had a handler named Bill Montgomery. Even me, if I started going to colleges and debating young people about single motherhood as an example, if I was to amass a huge influence with the college students, I myself would get visited by somebody looking to offer me $5 or $10 million. To do what? It wouldn't be a sponsorship. It would just be money to get me to do something. And at some point, if I don't ask any questions about why they're offering me $5 and $10 million, they won't even tell me. And if I started doing what they wanted me to do, everything will be okay. But what happened with Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, is he started turning down the money when he realized what they wanted him to do. And once you accept the money, you can't turn down the money, because once you accept the money, you're actually a part of the scheme. See, the first amount, 2 million, 5 million, maybe 10 million, is the beginning to see if you're okay with what they're doing. But unbeknownst to you, once you accept that, when they come back with the 150, you can't turn that down because you accepted the 2 or the 5. And that's the reason why I think they got rid of Charlie Kirk. He turned down the $150 million. And when you get offered $150 million, you got to take the $150 million, because at that point, you're way too deep to say no. Yep. Charlie Kirk said no. And because he said no, he's no longer here. And that's the reason why I'm talking about this Charlie Kirk situation. Because like I said earlier, virtually everything is sex trafficking.
Does anyone wonder if Charlie was starting to realize things about Erica?
A massive Titan helmet was found in the ocean. Now it's time for you to let go of the Matrix. Now it's time for you to let go of the lies and all the information you've been told. The history books, they forgot to tell us about this, didn't they? And look, if you see up here, there's a gash. There's a gash at the top. And that's where he probably got hit, and that's how he got deleted. Because if you know, the Nephilim giants were created because the fallen angels, the Watchers, came down to Earth and had relations with human women and created huge giants, huge titans, hundreds of feet tall. They were called the Nephilim. The offspring of the Nephilim, we'll get into that in a second. So if you didn't know, there's different types of Nephilim. There's 3 main classes of Nephilim. They're not all the same, all right? Nephilim giants came to Earth because the Watchers in the firmament were looking at the human women, and they wanted to have wives or procreate with them. So they came down and they created giants, men and women, okay? Because the offspring of the Nephilim were called the Eliad, and the offspring of the Eliad were called the Gibberim. These are probably the Gibberim, the Goliath-sized people, all right? These were probably the Eliad, anywhere from 50 to 100 feet.
Ooh,
and then the Nephilim were hundreds of feet. And in the book of Enoch, it talks about Els, which is the measurement of height. And some scholars believe that they were possibly thousands of feet tall, which is inconceivable. But there is evidence of giant petrified creatures throughout the world. The reason why the Nephilim were created in the first place is because the angels were not satisfied with their position. They weren't satisfied with what God gave them. It wasn't enough for them. And we have the same problem, right? God is not enough for a lot of us. And so these dudes were all over the place. Now, it got to a point where the Nephilim giants were no longer being satiated by the food being presented by the humans. And then the giants started eating the people. Okay, so that's why you have shows like Attack on Titan showing that kind of activity. And that's what happened back in the day before the flood. All right? And so then it gets to a point where the giants start fighting each other, which is why you have huge pieces of armor, huge helmets and stuff being found, at least that one anyway, because they eventually started fighting each other, and that's what God caused them to do. If you look at the book of Enoch, it explains how the fallen angels tried to get back into God's good grace. The Nephilim started wiping each other out. That's why the flood happened. It was anarchy and chaos everywhere. Imagine people like that, men and women like this, walking around, destroying your villages, crushing your people, eating the people, fighting amongst themselves, in your countryside or in your city. This is all from deviating from God's will. When we deviate from God's will, when we disobey the Lord and disobey Christ, imagine if, Lucifer never rebelled, what things would be like right now. Imagine if the Watchers never came down. There would be no flood. You know what I'm saying? So obedience to God, obedience to Christ is uncomfortable sometimes, but it is for our benefit. God knows what's best for us. Okay? You end up having giants crushing people, you causing all kinds of problems in your life and other people's lives when you deviate from God's plan. Yes, I just did a little sermon. So this first wave of Nephilim giants back in the day, they were tall, they were strong, and they were seen as gods by the humans. But they're all gone. They got wiped out. They came back after the flood, according to the book of Numbers. Joshua was scouting out the promised land, and the son of the Anakim were there, or the Nephilim. But this first wave, the huge ones, the 100 feet tall ones, they're gone. They're wiped out. They could not withstand the power of God. They cannot resist the authority of Christ, who is God. Okay? So the point of this video is to show you that there is physical evidence of the things in the Bible, of these giants. I mean, Abraham Lincoln talks about giants. It's almost not even a conspiracy to believe that giants were real and are real. Okay? So the Bible is true. And the whole story of the Bible points to one person, who is Jesus Christ, who is God in the flesh. Now, I don't want you guys to be confused. I'm just making conspiracy videos for fun, put myself out there for flat earth and all this stuff. No, the only reason why I talk about any of this stuff is because I want you to know that Jesus Christ loves you. He is God in the flesh, and there is no other way to be saved.
Amen.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this channel, is to expose the lies, share the truth of Jesus Christ, and help us wake up from the matrix.
Get this. Labour explaining what happens if you just don't want a digital ID card.
UK citizens will
if I don't?
will have to have one. Well, the plan is that we're going to roll this out by the end of
No,
Parliament.
my question is, what if I don't? What if I've got my job, so I don't need to show this to anyone. So what if I just don't do it?
So if you don't have one, then you'll have a problem if you want to get a new job.
No, I'm saying I'm not doing that. So I'm not seeking a job. So why should I get the digital ID card? Why do I do it?
Well,
Is there some fine for not doing it? Is there an incentive to do it? I'm just thinking I've got no reason to do it.
Yeah, look, this isn't a heavy-handed approach. We're not planning to go around finding people. But what we are going to do is make sure that everybody's got one. In the same way, Charlie, as you've got a national insurance number, if you're a citizen of this country, we'll make sure that everybody has a digital ID.
So help me with this. I know we're plotting through this, but so everyone watching who's got a job has got a national insurance number. So when these digital ID cards exist, if I just go to my employer and show them my national insurance number, is that not sufficient? Are they being precluded from employing me?
It won't be sufficient. I just want to be really clear about that.
So they can't.
Labour's new message to the British people: no digital ID card, no job. It's a new world where you don't just need skills, you don't just need the right attitude or experience. No, you need an app. Forget your CV, forget your interview. If your barcode don't scan, you're out. What happened to human touch? You go for an interview, you succeed. You hand over your ID card, yet the system fails. Computer says no. Labour reassures us it's all for our own good. Labour's big brother won't just be watching you. He's hiring you and firing you. Just make sure your phone don't run out of battery. Otherwise, it's congratulations. You're unemployed.
Oh my goodness. The 666. I hope everyone understands this.
What if I told you that 3 of the most brilliant scientists alive have just proven that everything you believe about yourself, your consciousness, and reality itself is completely wrong? I'm talking about Chris Langan, the man with one of the highest recorded IQs on Earth. Federico Fagan, the inventor of the microprocessor, who's now saying consciousness creates matter, not the other way around, and Bernardo Kastrup, the former CERN physicist who's mathematically proven that your individual mind is an illusion. By the end of this video, you'll understand why humans aren't biological machines, why your thoughts literally create your reality, and why death might not be what you think it is. Right now, as you're watching this, your body contains 50 trillion cells. Each one holds your complete blueprint. That's not how machines work. That's how consciousness works. Your phone processes information in bits, ones and zeros. But you process quantum information that can't be copied, can't be cloned, and exists only within your experience. The moment someone tries to measure your inner world, it changes. This isn't philosophy. This is quantum physics meeting consciousness studies, and the implications are staggering. Here's what these three minds discovered. First revelation. Chris Langan's CTMU theory proves that God isn't separate from reality. God is reality, and you're literally an image of God processing information through your consciousness. Think about it this way. You experience colors, emotions, thoughts, but when scientists look at your brain, they only see neurons firing. Two completely different realities from the same event. Why? Because consciousness isn't produced by the brain. It's what the brain looks like from the outside. Second revelation. Sir Federico Fagan, who invented the technology in every computer you use, now says human consciousness operates on quantum principles that no machine can replicate. While AI processes classical information that can be copied endlessly, your consciousness processes quantum information that's private, irreproducible, and uniquely yours. Third revelation. Bernardo Kastrup has mathematically proven that individual minds are dissociated parts of one universal consciousness. You're not separate from everyone else. You're the universe experiencing itself from one unique perspective. This changes everything we thought we knew about death. If consciousness doesn't come from your brain but only uses it, then death isn't the end. It's like a drone going offline, while the operator remains intact. Thousands of near-death experiences where people observe their own surgery while clinically dead suddenly make perfect sense. Prayer and intention. That social media post about humans being electromagnetic oscillators isn't new age nonsense. It's quantum physics. When your thoughts, electrically charged, align with your emotions, magnetically charged, you create a closed electromagnetic circuit that can influence reality at the quantum level. Free will. You do have free will, but it's not random. Your choices emerge from who you are in each moment. Even God can't predict what choices you'll make, because the universe is computationally irreducible.
So, you know, all was going well until you said even God can't predict what choices. God is all-knowing. If not, he wouldn't be God.
There's a scene in The Matrix where the kid bends the spoon with his mind, and he says to Neo, there is no spoon. Now, reality can be bent to your will. You can literally mold reality to whatever you want it to be using your perception on how it works. So the physical illusion that we live in, all of this, none of this shit's real. If you've ever taken psychedelics, or if you've had a near-death experience, or anything along those lines, some sort of severe trauma where you get detached from reality, they all link. And everything is the exact same when you take these things or when you go through these experiences. They're all connected and you all get the same experience. The physical world that we live in, like all this, the sofa, me, none of this is actually real in terms of the cosmos of the universe. It's a simulation, and this simulation is kind of like a mirror. It's a reflection to your consciousness, which is your soul or your mind or God or whatever you want to refer to that higher power as. Now, what I mean by this is how you can use this in a practical way to get anything you want in this physical simulation is you need to start understanding the power of your perception. If you step outside the house today and you're like, oh, it's cloudy and it's cold and it's a shit depressing day and I've got to go to work and you're in this depressed mindset, that perception is going to be confirmed. Your subconscious mind confirms the bias that you put into it. So if I say I'm big and strong and life is amazing and I've got everything I've ever wanted and I'm rich and I'm abundant and I'm healthy, even if you're not, when I was broke on my council estate in my prison cell-sized bedroom, I used to wake up every day with minus money in the bank account. I was in debt to the bank because I was spending money that I didn't have. And imagine that I had 5k in the bank. And I'd wake up every day with holes in the wall and I'd just be saying to myself, I'm rich, I'm wealthy, I'm abundant, I've got everything I've ever wanted. And the reason why you're going to say this is because every potential reality that could exist does exist right now. Time is a man-made construct. The way we perceive time, like, oh, there's a past, there's a present, and a future, that's not real. It's a human perception of things because our human vibration couldn't conceptualize how time actually works. It's more like a tunnel. And again, why do I know this? Why am I some random 23-year-old telling you this? Hypothetically, in a different universe, if I've ever taken psychedelics before, obviously in a video game world, I would understand this, right? I'm just saying that. Now, you understand that time is a tunnel, and the version of time that you experience in this current present moment is all down to your perception. So if I perceive life as good, and I'm rich, and I'm abundant, and I'm healthy, and I'm wealthy, and I've got everything I've ever wanted, on a long enough time frame, reality has to bend to that reflection. If you consistently keep telling yourself that, and you consistently keep feeding into that vibration, it has no choice but to obey you, because you are God, and God is you, and you are just experiencing what it's like to be in human form, so that God can actually be identified as itself. You have to have a polar opposite for something to exist. You can't know what the sunshine is if you've never had rain. You understand? God doesn't know that it's God if it doesn't play as the humans sometimes.
You won't believe this. AI just created living viruses, and some of them are deadlier than anything nature created. I know this sounds like science fiction, but it's not. This is a study where researchers successfully taught AI to write the genetic code for entirely new life forms. And here's how they did it. They took two AI models called Evo1 and Evo2. These aren't your typical chatbots. These are genome language models that can read your entire DNA. These models were built using transformer architecture, the same technology behind ChatGPT. So they fed these AIs the genetic blueprint of over 2 million viruses, fine-tuned them, and then asked the models, design me a virus that can hunt and eliminate E. coli bacteria. And the AI didn't just copy existing viruses, it invented completely new genetic sequences, DNA codes that had never existed in 3.8 billion years of evolution. And out of the thousands of AI-generated designs, the scientists picked 302 of the most promising ones, synthesized the actual DNA in a lab, and then brought these digital viruses to life. The results? 16 of these AI-created viruses were not only alive and functional, but some of these were even more effective than the original virus they were based on. One of the viruses, called Evo PHI-69, completely dominated natural viruses in head-to-head competition by up to 65 times. And when they tested against antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the AI viruses succeeded where natural ones completely failed, rapidly overcoming resistance that had stumped evolution for millions of years. So we've officially entered the era where AI doesn't just predict biology, it creates it. Follow and I'll keep you posted.
What could possibly go wrong, right?
You know what I'll say right now? I sold my soul. I went to a red room. Sheezer, Convi, Aiden, and Tav came in with red robes on, and they had bloodstains dripping down their mouths. They walked up to me, walked around in a circle, and started doing a bunch of weird spells and shit, casting it on me. And I walked out after that, checked my bank account, $2 million in the account.
This is Lacey, a well-known streamer, and what he's just said is freaking people out. He casually drops a mention of a red room, and if you know anything about internet law, that's not something you joke about. Red rooms are these secret live streams where disturbing things happen for money. Most people say that's just myths, but the idea is enough to give you chills. But why would Lacey bring that up? Was he trolling for shock value, or did he slip and reveal something that he shouldn't have? Streamers don't usually risk their reputation out throwaway comments. Real or fake, once you've heard it, you start asking yourself how much of what we see online is just entertainment, and how much of it might actually be something darker. Let me know your thoughts and comments below.
He's not telling the whole story, folks.